Hey everyone, welcome to this channel. If you found it, I trust that you were meant to be here for whatever reason that you're resonating with this. Yeah, getting straight into it. I've always wanted to do a short film about all the locations that Walt Disney visited, not just in England, but in Europe, in France, um, Switzerland, Italy, and I used to dig up a lot of information about this. I grew up in a little town in Lincolnshire, very close to Norton Disney, which obviously is now famed as one of the locations where Walt Disney's ancestors moved from France, from Islay-sur-Mer, and located in Norton Disney in Lincolnshire before going to Ireland and America. And as we know, Walt Disney visited in the 30s to Norton Disney when he was on a trip with the UK with his family. And there's a newspaper clipping in the pub there which I found years ago with my family, and we were visiting the graves and the tombstones there, and it's fascinating. It always, I found it so, I want to say personal, but obviously we all share this passion, but it really meant something to me that somebody that was such an innovator that I admired so much had visited a place just like moments from where I was living, and it felt like a real connection because I believe in energy and spiritual energy and ley lines and sacredness, and the fact, just to know that you're walking in the footsteps of somebody that you admire really meant something to me, and I think it means something to a lot of us. So if you're here, welcome. As I mentioned, I was going to do a film really of all the locations, but as we know, things like that take a lot of time, and it hasn't been my priority over the years. I was working at Walt Disney Imagineering in France on the Frozen expansion. I've been decorating in the film industry on feature films for the last decade, and working in theatre prior to that. So my entertainment career really, well, it was my focus, not going to say it took over, but having spent the last several years on a spiritual awakening journey and really putting myself first and what is important to me, I'm really deciding to take the time to focus on my passions. And yeah, this is one of them, and it's something that I've put off for a while, and I've considered, should I still make the short film? I might do, but also YouTube is just one of those platforms that allows us to create short form content, which, as we know, is the most popular thing right now, and it's just easy for us to click in and out of different videos that appeal to us and inspire us. And I see it as all like an interconnected web of energy anyway, with videos and creations and people. We're all connected, and if we have similar passions, even more so. So I'm really going to use this space and this channel to go to the locations. Some I've already been to several times, particularly in the UK, but to go to other locations that I've been meaning to go to and really walk in Walt's footsteps. This means something to me personally, but also I'm sure to many of you that are here that have found this channel and this video. So welcome. I welcome any of your feedback and comments and any places you'd like me to visit, and any of your experiences that you've had going to these places and what you felt in those places. For example, I've been to the Great Fosters several times. Can't give you the exact location on the top of my head, but it's not far away in Surrey. And in Walt and Edna and Roy and Lillian's trip in 1935, I believe it was, they stopped off there one day on the way to Oxfordshire and had lunch and walked around the little maze, which may or may not have inspired Walt's future Alice in Wonderland endeavours, getting lost in the little maze there. But even if it didn't, like, knowing that he went there, and it just feels such like a fairy tale British space, like the little maze and the river that runs through the garden. Obviously it's a very large garden, there's a swimming pool there now, but I love sitting by the river there. I feel like I'm Alice sat by a tree being inspired. I've always had such a big imagination, head in the clouds, dreamer type person, and just resonating with those stories and fairy tales and Tolkien, all these places, all different people, are very inspiring. And I've always loved writers and spent a lot of time going to different writers' houses, so maybe that could be a sub branch at some point. But this is really a channel to focus on Walt Disney and, yeah, really walking in his footsteps. There's even a place in Beaconsfield, a field that they filmed The Sword and the Rose and Robin Hood in and around Denham Studios, which is now a block of flats, and at Burnham Beeches, which I used to live next to, and I went to yesterday actually just to reconnect with that energy with Walt, the fact that he'd been there and the nature. And Richard Todd, who was playing Robin Hood, was there with him, who Walt, I believe, became friendly with, and he actually ended up living near Grantham, which is the town I'm from. And I believe Walt visited him at his home years later. So things like that are just kind of like everything's connected. And in Lincolnshire, I visited Disney Place, which I believe is a privately owned property now, and the Civil War Museum, which I actually worked on the short films of doing the set decoration and art department years ago when that opened. But on the opening night, we went into part of the museum. I believe it was a room next door that used to be the old boys' boarding house, and engraved in the wall was the words Robert Disney, again, I believe it, an ancestor of Walt Disney. And so it's just things like that I just find so fascinating, and that we are kind of walking in the footsteps of giants, and not in an intimidating way. I think that should inspire all of us, that the land, the sacred ancient land we're standing and walking on day to day, has so much history and vitality and life in it. If we stop to connect with it and research history, I just find it fascinating and inspiring, and maybe you do the same. So yeah, I've got a whole list of places that I'm gonna start uploading the videos of as and when I do each of them, and I think initially it will just be like bite-sized clips of places which I may put together at some point in the future with the original footage and references of Walt. And just another one on the top of my mind, in Beaconsfield, the model village. When I moved to Gerrards Cross years ago, before going to be an Imagineer in France, which I worked all my life to do, by the way. A lot of networking and hard work and creative work got me there. But yeah, so I was living in Gerrards Cross, went to Beaconsfield, felt called to go there. And even as I drove past it, as I just moved in, I was like, I wonder if Walt Disney went there. Like, I knew that he'd worked at Pinewood and Denham, and had a lot of money tied up in the UK film industry that he had to use here, which is the reason for him doing those films. And in one book I'd read that he was working at Denham Studios and left to go visit a friend nearby that had a model train set in the garden. As we know, Walt's passion was trains, and yeah, I don't think it had I think it said Beaconsfield was the specific location, which obviously got me thinking, like, I wonder if that was the origin of the model train, of the model, I can't remember the name right now, the model place in Beaconsfield. And they don't know that. I've asked them before, and you can't find anything about that online, so it's quite fascinating. Maybe the Disney archives would know specifically the location or the address or the family that he visited. But I took pictures, and then later that same night I was watching a documentary on Disney Plus, and Rebecca Klein from the Disney archives was showing some of the photographs that Walt had taken with his personal camera back in the day, and straight away I recognised it. In those pictures was the Beaconsfield model town. I again forget the name. How incredible is that? And it's like the fact that I'd been there that same day and wondered, and happened to click on that and then saw the picture that I recognised. And in that video, she didn't specifically say the location. I don't know if they know that's where it was. Obviously, I'm sure they've done that research, but it could be any model village, that's the word. And the fact that it was Beaconsfield is kind of amazing that he'd been there and walked around and had pictures taken there. Yeah, so just fascinating. So many stories like that, and I just would love to share that. So this is going to be a platform to do so. Whether or not it finds an audience, I'll leave that up to the universe, because I'm doing it really for me as a form of expression and creativity, and a place to put my research and interests into video form. So yeah, watch this space, and I look forward to sharing more soon. Bye for now.